On the last episode of Road to Time Attack, I managed to install a new engine in my BMW at the very last minute and just make it to the Ontario Time Attack event at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park Grand Prix track. OTA put on a great event, and I had the chance to experience the Grand Prix track in all its glory, including in the rain. I beat my rival Kevin in GT3, but now a few weeks later we were back there, this time at the driver development track. You join me at the OTA morning practice at DDT. For this event, the second of a double weekend event, the track was run in the one kink variation, which means that down in the back there is a straightaway with a blind crest and some pretty high speeds. I was still getting to grips with the racing line for my car and ironing out a few issues with my engine, but I was really happy that I stopped at JRP to pick up a Sparco Racing seat, because as far as I could tell, DDT is just one gigantic corner that never ends, so being able to focus on car control and not trying to stay put in my seat was a bonus. I had a lot to learn about this track, and I only had a few sessions to do it.
Alright, smooth inputs through this because it's very fast. Brake. Foot flat. Steer with the throttle, constant steering angle, as Kevin taught me, the man that I'm trying to beat. Down to the back corner. I always get this turn-in point wrong. Turn in now. Colin was telling me that I wasn't using my vision enough, so I'm making sure that I do that.
I had a bit of an issue with my cooling system, but I fixed it as best I could, just in time for the timed runs.
Alright, we're gridding the second session at Ontario Time Attack. I had a cooling issue, so I heard a loud pop on the track, and then there was coolant being sprayed from the top radiator hose, the big one that goes into the expansion tank. So I just reseated it, so I took it off, put it back on, bled the cooling system again. I didn't lose actually that much water. And then I used some high temperature silicone self-adhesive tape and I wrapped that around it and it seems to be holding. I can't seem to drive this car without having some sort of an issue. My best time so far has been a 1 minute 37.4 with no kink at DDT. Kevin in front of me in the S2K, he is beating me by 4/10, I think, and he's in third place. So I need to beat him to get a podium here. So I really got to pull it together. I just got to focus. I just have to focus. There's a few sections that I'm not getting quite right. My coilovers I backed them off a little bit because they were a little bit too stiff. It was unsettling me over the curbs. It's keeping the car incredibly planted to the point where my tire pressures are exactly the same all the way around after a session. And it adds to overall grip. And it deals with the undulations in the track perfectly, the HSDs, but they were a bit too stiff for me going over the curbs, and it was unsettling the car. So I backed off the rears a little bit to make them a little bit softer, and we'll see how that goes. Other than that, I just got to go out there and drive as fast as I can.
I watched Kevin pull away, knowing I had to beat his time if I wanted a podium. OTA's organization is such that when they grid the cars, they set you up in order based on how you qualified with the fastest first. So in the timed runs, you don't ever have to worry about traffic. So from my perspective, I had an open racetrack, and I knew that I had to gain on Kevin if I wanted to set a competitive time. After my warm-up lap, it was go time. I had 3 laps to set the fastest I possibly could, so nothing could go wrong. However, predictably, that wasn't the case. When you swap an engine on a budget and use donor parts occasionally from a junkyard, you're probably going to end up with some issues. So not only was I battling Kevin, I was battling my car.
I'm having throttle issues. Go! There it is.
For some reason, every once in a while, my car felt like it had no power and the throttle pedal wasn't responding.
Anything below 4,000 and it bogs. now. There it is. Come on, car, wake up. I have a Kevin to beat.
I pushed through it and carried as much speed as I could. Since it was mechanical and not computer-based, occasionally the car would work perfectly, but more often than not, it seemed to bog coming out of corners. I kept driving through it and hoped that everything would kick back in to let me set a fast lap. In the back straightaway, I went as fast as I could over the blind crest and stayed hard on the throttle to make up time. Then, naturally, for no reason at all, the car felt like it was working again, and I had 1.5 laps to set a fast time.
There we go. Come on. That's a better line.
I pieced together everything I knew about the course, and I did the best that I could to beat Kevin. I focused on being as smooth as possible, and I didn't want any of the pressure to make me sloppy. I hoped that my efforts had paid off. So by as near as makes no difference, Kevin beat me by 0.2 of a second. That put me in 4th place in my class. Am I disappointed? Actually, not really. I had tons of fun and I learned a lot. I'm quite satisfied with that time considering it was my first time driving the track in that orientation. I can't stress enough that if you're interested in getting into motorsport in a safe and organized way and you live in the area, Ontario Time Attack is the place to start. Their timing is accurate, their organization is fantastic, and it's run by volunteers, so there is a great sense of community. I can tell you for a fact that I'll be back next year to challenge Kevin for a podium. But until then, I have some work to do on my car, and after I got it back to my house, I decided to take it for a little drive on the road to think about how far it's come.
Oh, it's a little 3rd gear pull. Not that part throttle, right? So, like, I've completely transformed this car, and I regret absolutely nothing. I've left the stickers on it. I don't know if you can see, but I've still got my Ontario Time Attack sticker on the front. It's really cool. I was just at a gas station, and a couple guys came over. They're like, "Yo, what do you do?" And I told them all about Ontario Time Attack. So now, for me, this car, it's going to get put away for the winter. This is not my daily driver anymore. I have another car for that, an old Volvo, actually. But this is something that I'm going to look forward to driving next season. Everyone's been making fun of me because this car hardly ever works. I mean, I've got like an entire dashboard full of lights right now, but I still love the car. This is still my track car. I feel like I've built this thing now, right? I've removed and replaced almost every single part on the car, except for the actual subframe of the car. Pretty much everything has come out by my hand, right? So, I don't know, I love this thing now. I wouldn't change it for anything. And I swear next year I'm going back to Ontario Time Attack and I'm gonna beat Kevin. I'm gonna beat him. I gotta keep this car in GT3 because I was so close at DDT where you saw there. I was so close to a podium. 0.2 of a second.
This has been a whirlwind season. I never intended for this series to have so much drama, with the money shift and the last-minute engine swap and the hair-splitting competition, but I feel like I'm just getting started. With JRP's help and their garage, I made the first steps towards a purpose-built track car. Of course, there's a long way to go. I need to fix my shifter still, I need a roll bar, and I need to rebuild some suspension components. But the parts that I have added this season, the StopTech brakes, the HSD coilovers, the NK wheels, and the Sparco seat, have massively improved the car. Not to mention the engine swap, headers, and weight reduction. Now to all those involved, JRP, the Pinnacle Advanced Driving Academy, and Ontario Time Attack, I need to say thanks. This has been the most epic driving season of my career. I can't wait for next year. So that's all for the Road to Time Attack series, but stay tuned for more of my track car build over the winter, and more competition next season. I hope to see you out there.